This class is one amongst many on the topic of innovation. In this session we want to talk about the drivers for innovation. In other words, what are the forces that bring innovation into existence? What are the forces that cause innovation to happen? The first one we can imagine is financial pressures due to costs. The need for increased efficiency. Companies, generally speaking, are in competitive relationships with other companies, and indeed in terms of a globalized market, they're in competition with companies overseas. So there is constant pressure on companies to find new ways of producing, more efficient ways of producing the product, and that's a driver for innovation. That causes innovation. Of course, increased competition would also be a driver. Increased competition means that the company is under constant pressure to try and maintain its market share. It could lose sales if it doesn't reduce its costs and act efficiently and remain price competitive. So increased competition, which puts pressure on prices, could force innovative behavior on firms. In other words, the firms must be efficient. They must constantly review their processes to see if they can do the work cheaper and better. There is also shorter product life cycles. Some writers suggest that consumers don't want to have products that last for a very long time. They like modern products. They like change in their home environments. They like change in terms of their cars and the way they dress. So the product life cycle may be becoming shorter and shorter. If it is, then there is pressure on the companies to innovate their production systems to enable them to meet the demand that's emerging in the markets for newer products turned out faster. But of course that may change in the future, but it's suggested by many that customers like to change their household products, their clothing, their style of dress, their cars. They like to change on a fairly frequent basis, and it's suggested that that frequency is becoming more. They are shortening the life cycle. Of course, there is strict regulation, and the government and agencies are constantly monitoring industry for good practice. And there are strict regulations about the conduct of many markets. So the companies must respond to this by showing that they are innovative, they're able to reduce their costs, they're able to meet the higher standards, and they're able to do so competitively. There is also, of course, pressure for sustainable development. Within society, we are becoming increasingly aware of the amount of waste that we produce. Landfill sites are filling up, almost by definition. But landfill sites are running out or under pressure. Many urban settings have a problem of pollution and of waste disposal. And what we're looking for is products which can be recycled, and also industries that are operating with the environment and with the community in mind, not just making the product to sell on the market to generate profits, but also having social responsibility. There is increased demand for accountability. More and more communities want to know what the companies are doing. The companies are a part of the community, and many communities want the companies to fulfill that role and have an obligation to the local community. So it should not cause congestion on the roads or pollute the atmosphere. It should be careful about the disposal of waste. So there is increased demand on the part of many communities that companies should account for their actions. And this accounting process, this transparency, if you like, should be just that. It should be transparent. The local community should be able to see what the companies are doing. Innovation can also come about because of demographic, social and market changes. Products will vary according to customer age. With an aging population, different products will be required. But also the social structure of the society may be changing. There may be more migrants, or there may be more involvement from colleges in education. There may be more pressure for work experience. There may be governmental intervention for to generate jobs and training programs. The markets may change because our tastes as consumers are changing. All of this leads pressure on companies to be innovative. They must be able to cope with these pressures and do so in a way that generates sustainability for them, generates profits for them, so that they're able to pay the bills and continue in existence. There is rising consumer expectations regarding service and quality. We now are more aware of the need for good service provision and customer care and aftercare services as well, after sales services, I should say. There's been a rise in consumerism, and it's been going on now for many years, probably going back to the 1970s or even the 1960s, and championed by all sorts of people, but people like Ralph Nader in America. But many people believe that companies should be responsible for the service that they provide and the quality of the service. And customers' expectations are that products should meet their requirements and should do so efficiently and robustly. They should have durability. The customers have expectations which are almost ever increasing, and companies must respond to this by making better and better products so that the customer experience is improved and the image and reputation of the business is also enhanced. There is a changing economy. The economy today is not the same as the economy, let's say, 20 years ago or 50 years ago. There's more emphasis on services within, say, many Western economies today than there was in the past. In the past, the economies were mostly dominated by secondary production, by manufacturing. So obviously agriculture underpins it. The primary sector producing output of coal, mining, agriculture, fisheries and so on, that was and always has been important because that's the supplier of raw materials. And then there was the secondary type of activity, which was the manufacturing, and that was very important in Western societies. And there was a very small service sector on top. Not so long ago, maybe 30 years ago, it was unusual for people to eat out at a restaurant. People had meals at home. Now that has changed completely, and the manufacturing base seems to have moved to poorer countries, and the Western countries seem to have moved on to services. Now, with these quite dramatic changes, there is intense pressure on industry to be innovative. If the economy is moving towards an information-based economy, if the economy is moving towards services, there may be more need for computer programmers and for logistics and online manufacturing processes and controlling companies from a distance, controlling companies in other countries from one country to another, teleconferencing. There is more need for innovation in industry than has ever been the case. So as the economies change, there's pressure on industry to respond to the change and to continue manufacturing, but do so in an innovative and a way which is appropriate for the changes that are taking place in the wider society. Greater availability of potentially useful technologies, coupled with a need to exceed the competition in these technologies. There is a very rapid rate of technological progress. We always think of computers and the computing industry when we think of technology, but in fact technology cuts right across manufacturing. The introduction of robotics in industry, which is taking away a lot of low-skilled jobs, repetitive, boring, low-skilled jobs are now done by robots. Even accountancy and the services are able to rely more now on the power of spreadsheets and the power of computation based on computers. There is greater use of technology, and that's not just in one country, that's across the world, because knowledge of these advantages spreads quickly. So the greater availability of useful technologies means that those technologies will be brought into play and be used in quite innovative ways, but used to deliver a good service to the customer. So these are some of the drivers for innovation, and these are quite powerful drivers, because a lot of them, although they're dealt with here in very general terms, a lot of them are the real movers in society. This is what's causing the change in society. And if you go back over this list and carefully make your own notes, make a note of these and make your own notes, you will see the power of each one of these. It is a very important list in the explanation of innovation. Now let's look at assessing innovation complexity. Well, the complexity of innovation can vary from industry to industry, but generally speaking, if it's innovative, it means not many people are doing it, not many companies are looking into it, so it tends to be complex. We have the dimensions and degrees of innovation. These are the extent of the innovation. Is the innovation small scale, piecemeal, or is it more, in a sense, institutionalized? Is it within the business? Is innovation a part of the business, and therefore they're looking for radical innovation quite a lot of the time? They're looking for major changes, not just incremental changes, small changes that they're introducing as time goes by, but perhaps they're also looking out for the big changes which will give them a real advantage in the market. There is technological newness. All the time, every day, we hear of new inventions and new ways of combining resources to satisfy some need. Sometimes we didn't even think about the need. Sometimes we're not sure there was a need in the first place. But once the product comes into existence, then the need is perceived. But technological newness is what feeds into this whole complexity, this innovative complexity. But there's also market newness. Markets are changing. They're changing on a moment by moment basis. customers require new products. They like innovative products. They like style changes. They want good aftercare, after sales service care. They want good value for money. But they're also aware of what's happening in other societies and what the lifestyle in other societies are, because news and communications is global. So there is constant pressure on societies to match each other and to have access to the same sort of benefits. And this feeds into an increased push on the part of consumers, pushing industry to be innovative, to change the products, to cut their costs, to be more efficient, and it leads to this type of complexity. There's also a problem with complexity because it takes time to implement innovation. From the time it's considered appropriate, when the management agree that a certain scheme would improve their efficiency, let's say, it takes time to implement it. They may need new machines, and they may have to train personnel to operate the machines, and it takes time. There's also a lag in customers' response to newness. Customers see new products, they wish to have new products, but they already have a previous version, let's say, and they don't want to throw it out because it's still working, it's still got life. But they are getting ready, mentally getting ready to get the new one because that's what they want. So lots of examples. They have a television which works perfectly, but they want a smart television. They want one which connects to the internet and will be a communication hub within their homes. So they stick with the old television because they've got it, but mentally they're really interested in the new one. But it takes time for innovations to come through, and it takes time for customer demands to reflect truly what they wanted in terms of innovative products, perhaps for a long time. And of course, there's always the problem of risk with complexity. When companies change their production systems and are innovative, there is a problem that the new system may not work. It may not work effectively, or there may be bugs in the system that the management did not consider or could not have known about when they changed over. And likewise with new products that come on the market. Sometimes when new products come out, there's a teething problem. They have errors, they have bugs in it. It happens in computing. Even the big companies bring out a big program. Microsoft deliver a big program, or Google, or whoever it is, deliver some big program which it's wonderful. But within a matter of weeks, generally speaking, there will be a bug fix, another program to fix the bugs, because the original one was flawed. Not deliberately released as flawed, the companies don't do that, but just when it has been used, the users managed to configure it in such a way that the bugs were evident and a fix was needed. So there are risks associated with the complexity of innovation. Now, let's have some examples of analysis. Well, small diagram, a small little, not diagram, but a little table here. First of all, on the vertical axis here, you'll have to turn sideways to see this, or just believe what I'm saying, is imitability. So we're going to talk about the degree to which the products are similar. So imitability. And we'll have just two measures of that, high and low. I'm not too sure how we're going to measure that. Let's not worry about it. Just consider that some items are very similar, they've got high imitability, some are not at all, so it's low. And then along the horizontal axis here we'll have the core or relatedness to existing business and competencies. So we look at the core of the business. What does the business do? And how close is the innovative product to what the company does already? How close is it? Clearly, the closer it is, the more efficient, the easier it is to switch over. But if it is a lot different, then there may be higher costs and problems. Again, we'll just measure that as high and low. We're not going to be very precise about it. And we'll just fill in this little box and see what the impacts are. So let's start by saying we have a product which it's got high imitability, so it can be copied easily, and it's not really related to the core of the business. Now, should the business consider this? Should the business consider developing this type of product? It can be copied easily, and it's not really related to anything they do currently. Well, that's high risk, and we can anticipate no profits. It can be copied easily, and it's not really related to anything they're doing currently, so there won't be any profits in doing that. If the imitability is low, in other words, it can't be copied, but at the same time the product does not relate to anything in the business currently. It doesn't relate to the production system they've got currently, or to the skills of the workers they've got currently. So it's low in terms of relatedness to the core of the business, but it's also low in terms of imitability. So it can't be copied. So you can imagine some profits, but there won't be very much, because a lot of the profits will be taken up by trying to get the production system sorted out, because it's not a part of what the company does naturally. So we can anticipate some profits, but not a lot. If it's high imitability and high core, so it's related to what the business is doing currently. This is a product that could be produced with the existing capital within the company, and it's high imitability. In other words, it can be copied. Then when the company switch over to make the product, and they've innovated the product, they switch over, you can imagine them making short-term profits. But eventually the other companies will come in and start producing a similar product, so profits will be eroded. And they'll come in because it's high imitability. They can copy it easily. If it's got a lot of synergy with the existing business, if it relates to the capital of the existing business and the skills of the workers, so it's got high relationship with the core of the business. It fits in with the business almost perfectly. If it does that, and if it can't be copied by other competitors, if they find it very difficult to copy it, then there will be long-term profits. So when we think of innovation, we can think of this type of little diagram here, this little table. And we have imitability, the degree to which the product can be copied, against what does the business currently do, and how does the innovation fit with what the business does. Can the business innovate using existing capital, using the skills of its workers? Can it switch over quite easily? So if it does fit well with the current structure of the business, and if the imitability is low, if the others can't copy it, then there will be long-term profits. So that concludes this talk on innovation, or drivers for innovation, I should say. It's wise for you to go back over it, make your own notes, do some research, do some reading in the area. Think about the notes and see if if they all make sense. After you have looked at it a couple of times and made your own notes, it should become clear. Innovation is an extremely important topic in business. This is what gives us change in our society. This is what gives us change in the markets and um, more efficient lines of production. But that's all we're going to deal with here, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.